Hello, everybody. My name is Luke Flaherty. I'm the founder of Wave Consulting, and this is another episode of the Party Wave podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about B2B email marketing and email flows and try to make this the one-stop shop, ultimate guide type of thing to B2B email marketing and what that looks like, what we advise that to look like. It's different for everybody. We're going to try and touch on all those different sections. We're going to go over what role email flows play in the sales funnel, in your marketing strategy, the structure of email flows, what softwares that looks like, what the structure of the email can look like, what it should look like, in our opinion, your content strategy for these email marketing messages. We might touch on some lead magnet stuff for what goes in that email marketing, of course, some actionable tips that you could take today if you like what you're hearing and you want to implement this, as soon as possible. We'll cover some tips that you can do, things you can do today. And maybe we'll get to some case studies if I can think of any um, for the sections we're at, right? Some local updates from here in Wilmington. This weekend, the surfing was really good. I had a few people I haven't seen in a while come into town. We spent a lot of time out at the beach. I got pretty burnt, but that's okay. It was a lot of fun. Conditions were pretty good surfing this weekend. This morning was pretty rough. Current was pulling pretty far, but got out there. I had a lot of fun, but work starts nonetheless. And so let's go ahead and jump into email marketing, email flows, and kind of the B2B space, right? This will not be a podcast that touches on D2C, B2C. We're going to stick to B2B in this as that pertains to what we know best, right? And the clients that we interact with the most. Email marketing, email flows, you might, a lesser impact way, a lot of people don't like the cold email stuff. Email flows are often important in just marketing and sales for nurturing your leads, converting them along the way, onboarding. We still consider that email marketing, so kind of defining that scope. So that email marketing is just kind of there to provide information and keeping in contact with those prospects throughout the sales cycle at scale. Some brief stats about the impact that effective email flows can have are, we have really high ROI in terms of when you structure email flows really effectively, you can see high ROI with the improved conversion rate that you get, of course. Email marketing also extends the LTV of your clients so that you get more value over the lifetime of your clients, of your customers, by implementing email marketing, right? So, like I said, email marketing also extends the LTV of your clients. This ROI, like this, can be seen elsewhere. Customer success actually measures a higher return on email marketing in the first 6 months post implementation due to its use. So, instead of implementing email marketing for sales right away, the first step that I like to take is implementing email marketing in customer success, aka making sure your customer is using your product, making sure they're happy, making sure they know the right things to do with it, right? In the first 6 months of implementing email marketing, you actually get a higher return on it in that prospect than the sales cycle. The sales cycle just takes more tweaking, right? It takes more bricks to build that bridge across. And you actually get an average LTV increase of 20% if you implement email marketing heavily in your onboarding processes. So it can be a pretty valuable thing to do, right? Anyways, I think I got a little bit ahead of myself. Let's take a step back. What are email flows, right? Email flows in the sales funnel look like a series of automated emails that are designed to nurture leads through that sales funnel. So they bridge the gap between top of funnel activities like ads and lead magnets to bottom of funnel conversion mechanisms. They play a role in lead nurturing. Like I said, email flows provide information over time. They help leads understand their problems and how your services can solve them. So, kind of customer success before their customer, right? Which is just lead nurturing. There's typically a two-part structure to these. When you're looking at super simple email flows, you got a day one email flow, immediate follow up to reinforce that messaging, that product consumption, right, and maintain engagement. So, right, one day after, and then there's the day 2 to day 120 type of time frame where you do ongoing communication to provide value, etc., address objections, encourage other actions. So that two-part structure is how we're pretty much going to look at all email marketing, right? It doesn't need to be more complex than that at all. You have your immediate follow-up and your day 2 to day 120, where you have that ongoing communication, providing extra information, addressing objections, and staying available, right? Encouraging action. What are some use cases for email flow? Like we said, nurturing leads, maintaining engagement, driving conversions. Nurturing leads looks like moving from awareness to consideration is how I like to think of it. So you're helping people move from awareness, who is Wave Consulting, to considering Wave Consulting for what they do, right? It's hard to pin down exactly what people want, right? So you help them be aware and then help them consider, and hopefully eventually make a decision, right? Whether that's qualify or unqualify. An example of nurturing leads with email marketing is following up with leads captured during a lead magnet, a PDF, a guide, download, providing additional resources, your other lead magnets, your other case studies, your other checklists. And that is, like I said, the awareness. They got the one thing they were looking for from you, and then you provide other things, extra value, to continuously provide additional resources and ease your way into consideration. In terms of maintaining engagement for use cases on email marketing, maintaining engagement just keeps your business top of mind, right? Where for Wave Consulting, you think of consulting in Wilmington. If you're landing in the inbox consistently and delivering information, going from awareness into consideration, keeping that engagement high is a great sign, right? Great sign you're on the right track, great sign you're providing the right kind of value. An example would be regular email newsletters with tips, industry news, and case studies if you have them. I recommend the maintaining engagement type of email marketing, aka newsletters, to go out more than once a month, once a week ideally. A lot of people have a pretty steady review process, so that can be tough, but that's what we'd like to aim for. Driving conversions is another example of a use case for email marketing. For example, a series of emails highlighting the benefits of your goods or service, and offering a free 15-minute call, pushing these leads through your conversion mechanism, pushing them through the webinar. You're just guiding them through the decision-making process with targeted, persuasive content. And this is where you get into your personalization, right? You want VAs or yourself to be including relevant tidbits of information that really shows that that your goods or service will impact their life positively, and help handle any objections along the way, tailor your service to meet their needs, etc. Main takeaways: email flows are the backbone of lead nurturing. They turn cold leads into warm prospects and eventually into paying clients. Structured email flows ensure that your leads receive the right information at the right time, guiding them from awareness into consideration. So you structure your flows the right way, they will at the right time guide the prospect or the lead from awareness into consideration after qualification of the lead. That brings us into how do we structure effective email flows, right? We're going to structure them. If you remember, we talked about the two parts. You got your day 1 and then your day 2 to day 120. So right after purchase, right after engagement, and then the rest of the life of the lead. Obviously, email marketing takes on a different role, takes on a different structure once you convert that customer. So we like to think of it in 120-day timelines. Let's start at day 1 though, right? In terms of day 1 email flow, this is going to want to be like 20 minutes after the lead capture, if not less. I like 20 minutes because it lets people, and consume, right? It lets people consume what you just provided in exchange for the lead, or, let them consume the product, like let them check their email for the verification, etc. So 20 minutes after the lead capture is that immediate follow-up, that day 1 email. And this is with the objective of reinforcing the main problems that your service addresses in an effort to increase customer success. You're going to explain why those problems need to be solved and show that your offer is the solution, right? Along with any instructions if needed. But this should really be part of your onboarding process. This is bare minimum onboarding process. Example: welcome email, information email, offer email, right? You're just additional information, reiterate the lead's problems and the value that your service provides. When we talk about day 2 to day 120, the idea of daily emails is good and I like it, but sending daily emails to your prospects isn't for everybody. And it sometimes takes a little bit of thinking, right, about what is best for your brand, what is best for your business. But when we talk about moving through leads, qualifying leads, and converting them, daily emails is good because your brain goes right to they're going to get annoyed and they're going to unsubscribe, right? That's not in my head that's not a bad thing. Right? You're unqualifying and can keep that in mind for other things. Something that's more relevant, right? Maybe a once per month flow, etc. So daily emails for up to 120 days. Keep in mind that this can be tailored to your specific situation. If you're not a fan of 120 days, that's completely fine. But the daily emails from day 2 to day 120, they're going to look to accomplish 3 things. They're going to provide additional advice to help these leads make progress after that purchase, right? So when we think about a service that you may offer, right, they're going to initially inquire or initially purchase, and you just want to continue make sure that they use the product. And in doing so, you can make sure that they are enjoying the product, are getting what you're supposed to be giving them with it. If not, you can solve that, just hoping to increase the likelihood that they're an attractor and not a detractor for your business. You're going to promote extra content, preferably video content, to build extra trust and help establish yourself as a thought expert in the space. You're going to answer some FAQs as well, address objections continuously to reduce barriers to further conversion. Right, we're all about increasing LTV, and so in doing so, we're just encouraging past that first purchase. Something that you can implement are just short emails with practical advice based on your list segmentation, right? If you have a company that segments and sells consulting in different things, right? And consulting in early stage product development, helping people write white papers, you can segment your contacts by that. Say, hey, look, this is something we read this week. This is some legislation that just came out that might affect your business. This is what we think you should do. Helping achieve those small wins is how you position yourself as an expert in the industry. Email linking to in-depth, longer form videos that offer valuable insights, right? If it's just a recording of a water cooler meeting or a recording of, a group discussion that you have once a month. These are your webinars, a kind of different word people like to throw around for these. But linking to these longer form videos is a great place for email marketing. In your emails, you're going to want to link to videos if you can, embed them if you can, things like that. The videos do really well in emails. Pictures tend to not do as well. FAQs and objection handling continue over these 120 days. Don't be afraid to reuse your FAQs and the objections that you handle. If you're sending daily emails, one could get lost. You forget them day to day. Just address them continuously in a loop, right? Don't be afraid to reuse it. You don't have to come up with 120 questions, 120 objections. That's not the point. Main takeaways. Actually, want to touch on the mere exposure effect. The mere exposure effect. This kind of goes back to how you're going from awareness to consideration and how sending daily emails can seem like a lot. Repetition just increases familiarity and perceived honesty, perceived truth, making leads more likely to trust your message. So repetition and seeing you, right? This is why billboards are so effective. This is why billboards have been around forever and commercials, etc. Right? You're just exposing over and over and over again. If they don't like it, they don't like it. They get rid of you. That's okay. Main takeaways. The first 20 minutes after you capture the lead is when you should be sending out that first email. You use this time to reinforce your message and to keep the lead engaged. This ensures you have a higher LTV by handling customer success right after the purchase. Daily emails over that 120 days after the first email will ensure that your leads receive consistent value and keep your business top of mind. Because once you go from awareness into consideration, you don't want to go back, right? You want to always be considered and top of mind. And you do this in those 120 days after the first email, those daily messages, those weekly messages, right? Whatever your preference is. You should provide so much value to your potential clients or customers over those 120 days. They're like, dude, okay, what can I do for you now? Right? That's the goal of the 120 days. Some people don't like the idea of giving away the value, and that's fine. And so email marketing can take on different forms. It can just be for lead capture, cold emails, but wanted to touch on email flows, right? Automated email flows. When we talk about the content that goes into email flows and email marketing, I think there's two main parts. I think there's messaging and the email content itself. The messaging should have a core, right? It should focus on convincing leads that the status quo is not the option, that to switch, right? Because they've demonstrated an interest, they've demonstrated a need for your product, right? And so convincing them and helping them understand that to move forward from the pain point that they've been having, action is required. And so whatever that looks like for your business should be the core messaging. And you do this by explaining the problems they face and why they need to address them. And you provide logical and believable solutions that your service does offer, right? And you really want to stay on the lines of believability and logic in these. You don't want to get into hyperbole, exaggerated, unrealistic claims. You want to stick to stats, facts, and proven methods. By example, a headline that you can kind of base off of is, by optimizing your email flows, you can reduce customer acquisition costs and scale your ad spend effectively. You're not educating, you're trying to change awareness into consideration. You're not here to be a teacher, right? You can be a teacher if you want, but you're here to highlight why their problem is a problem and why they need to address it. By optimizing your email flows, you can reduce customer acquisition costs and scale your ad spend effectively. That's an example. Your email content, when we talk about how to structure that, we look at subject lines. We like to think of three pillars, right? Short, action-oriented, and curiosity-inducing. This just makes the emails appealing and easy to read, right? You don't have to turn your brain on to just understand the subject line. They should be curious in the subject. We even see this go to extreme lengths. Saw email get really popular online the other week, and it was somebody put the email subject as, X name, Rachel, I'm pregnant and I'm a man, right? And in the email, the first line is like, okay, I may not be pregnant. I think, that might have been an exaggeration, but it's curiosity inducing. When do you see an email stand out like that? That's obviously over the top and kind of not exactly what I'm talking about, but you want a short, action oriented, and curiosity inducing subject lines. An example: discover the top 4 issues killing your business. When you talk about the body content, this is in 2 separate categories, right? Are you doing text-based or are you doing HTML emails? Like, are you designing them in a HubSpot, in a Constant Contact? And so you want to take into consideration which one you're doing there. But it's still the same elements, right? Clear headings, line breaks, a lot of breaks in the text. Clear headings, line breaks, and images to make these emails appealing and easy to read quickly. You want to focus on that first sentence to grab the attention, and then let the rest of it flow, right? You don't want to listen to your English teacher here. You don't want the paragraph to be an introduction, body, and then conclusion for each paragraph. You want to just make it quick and easy to read. That highlights, you're in their inbox. You want to get to the point and get to the point quick. Of course, your CTA should be strong, clear, and direct. Help guide the reader, the client, the customer to the next step. Schedule your free audit now. Schedule this. Download this. This is calling to action, of course, into your conversion mechanism for your product, good, or service. Some examples, an actionable tips email. I know we talked about that at the beginning for something that you can do in your weekly rotation for your day 2 to day 120 emails. This looks like providing a practical, actionable tip related to your service explaining why it's important and how to implement it, the why it's important is way more important than how to implement it. Like I said, we're not educating, we're highlighting the concern and providing a solution to solve it if they want to today. I touch on this in my last podcast as well, but just a brief tangent about why we talk about that, why we talk about we're not educating, we're highlighting the concern. But you're like, you're not educating, but you're providing a solution, you're providing step-by-step instructions. That's because we're demonstrating ourselves to be a thought leader, right? You have two outcomes for your lead magnet. They either buy or they can't buy. And if they can't buy, they were never going to buy. And so at least you helped them, and then they become social proof. So that's why we still include the steps and how to fix it, but we don't focus on it. And so an example would be set up your CRM today to streamline client communication and boost efficiency. So if you know you have an efficiency problem, you know you have a client communication problem, setting up your CRM today is what you need. And so that's how we explain the why it's important over the how to implement it in the subject, in the headline, etc. I hope that makes sense. The video promotion email is another example. You're linking to your valuable video. This one is good because, like I said, you're linking into the conversion mechanism for your next good or product if they've already converted. And so instead of convincing them with an email providing value and then suggesting they get extra value from this other conversion mechanism, you're saying, hey, look, there's value in this conversion mechanism. And so you link to that webinar or that valuable video, explain what it covers and why you should watch it. Like, watch our latest video on optimizing your email marketing strategy to learn techniques for better results, right? So that calls to what's explained in the video, why it is valuable to them, and they either watch it or they don't. And that's how you qualify or unqualify. The third example is an FAQ and objection handling email. That looks something like, worried about the cost of our service, you can ask, worried about how much time this will take up out of your life, worried about when we'll show up for like landscaping. Here's why our pricing offers better value than our competitors. This is when we show up for 90% of our clients. You're easing these objections and FAQs. And you should know this as a business that sells to customers. What are they objecting over? And you can just solve those ahead of time, right? So main takeaways, your email content should always aim to convince leads that the status quo is not an option and that your service provides the solution. And that effective emails are clear, concise, and visually engaging, making it easy for leads to consume and act on that information. I'm going to say that again. I think my voice cracked a little bit. Effective emails are clear, concise, and visually engaging, which makes it easy for leads to consume and act on that information. Some additional little things to touch on that I have here in my notes at the bottom are personalization and social proof. We touched on social proof, where you're providing these step-by-step instructions and how the people that use them will typically end up being social proof because they use the solution you provide instead of hiring you to fix it, right? And so you can expedite this or get extra social proof in different ways, where social proof doesn't always happen as a result, but it happens to achieve the result as well. So meaning including testimonials, case studies, and success stories with your other clients to build credibility and trust. Writing the email is good if you can do it. That's how you keep the ball rolling. Social proof makes more social proof. Personalization is big. You might think, I have this problem a lot. You might think that personalization is kind of creepy and that you want to come off as, you don't want to be creepy and overstepping. You want them to know that this is a real service going out to a lot of people. One-to-one emails do better than one-to-many emails. And that sounds obvious when I say it out loud, but it can be kind of, a tough choice to make. But using the recipient's name and tailoring that content to their specific needs is the highest ROI activity you can do in email marketing. So having your VAs or having other assistants or yourself taking the time to tailor the content in that email will scale exponentially. The more personalized that email is, the better it will perform. And I talk a lot about how personalization is dead and relevancy is king. And so instead of just saying relevancy now, personalization kind of should take on that relevancy, right? Personalization obviously isn't dead, but it's expected. And so relevancy is where you tailor that content to their specific needs and interests. It's not just about throwing in the name and calling it a day. The content needs to reflect why you're messaging them, right? It should be relevant to that person. If not, you don't risk not only them ignoring your email, but it hitting negatively. It's subtracting from your business and what you offer. When we talk about tools for creating email flows and email marketing, I only really have one recommendation, and that is Klaviyo. It is built for e-commerce. This is what we use. It has a couple of good features. It has robust API connectors, so you can bake it into any existing application. That way, the answer is always yes. I like that. I don't like saying no. So I like when there's always good, easy to understand API connectors for myself or other members to connect that into wherever we need it. It has great segmentation capabilities because it's built for e-commerce. If you think about e-commerce compared to B2B sales, there's a lot different types of customers and the segmentation is a bit more intense. And so it's good to have those capabilities because that's ideally how you're going to provide that relevancy. I think it has a good UI. I've looked at a bunch of different UIs. I work in UI UX, so it's something I can be a little bit picky about. And so I think it's good to operate, right? You can build templates pretty easy. It has inbox warming features, which are becoming more valuable now than ever, especially when you're getting into email marketing. You want to make sure your inbox is warmed up so you're not landing in spam as much as you can. It has strong automation features. And I'm talking about all this on the free tier. All of these exist on the free tier of Klaviyo. You don't have to pay for any of these. So the automation features, you pretty much get it all right out of the box. You get the weights, you get the loop backends, you get multiple automations. You know what I mean? It also has SMS capabilities with all the same features, right? So any automation you can do with email, you can do with SMS, which is a little, I don't feel qualified to speak on SMS, but it can be pretty strong. The other things that are worth mentioning are HubSpot and MailChimp. HubSpot is already going to be built into a lot of your CRMs. If you use HubSpot for CRM, you should just use its marketing suite and always negotiate that marketing price, right? The email marketing tools being baked in there is a huge win. MailChimp, obviously being built into kind of the lead gathering process, can be strong as well. Some features to look for if you don't like these 3 recommendations are just 4 things, right? Just check off the 4 boxes of automation, segmentation / personalization, analytics and reporting, and integration. So you want to make sure it supports complex workflows and behavior-triggered emails. So when a lead acts this way, maybe that a lead engages in your newsletter. You can automate them into a new email flow. You want to make sure that they have advanced options to tailor your emails different to different audience segments. Like I said, not just names, but tailoring other things and A/B testing, right? Third, analytics and reporting. So, good marketing, good salespeople track performance, track data, and optimize your campaigns based on what the data says. So you're going to make sure you have good reporting. Integration, so make sure your tool integrates with mainly your CRM and your CMS. The CMS is a little bit less important, but integrating with your CRM, if it can, is really huge. Sometimes, like Klaviyo can act as sort of a CRM, but you don't always really want that. So that brings us into advanced email marketing strategies. So we're going to touch on this, where we'll talk about a little bit more personalization, right? So personalization, what does it look like beyond names? Deeper personalization moves just beyond the name. It, like I said, creates that relevancy. It resonates on a personal level. You can do this by leveraging AI and data analytics. You want to look to understand the user journey of the person that you're emailing. So you're going to use AI to map out that customer's journey and send content that's targeted for that customer at different stages. For example, if a customer recently bought a beginner's photography kit, then, for example, if a customer recently bought a beginner's photography kit, you can send them follow-up emails with photography tips, other PDFs, or links to related articles and videos on your website. So you're not just personalizing to who that customer was, you're personalizing to who that customer is becoming as a result of your product, which is great. Dynamic content can also be a great thing for personalization, right? Tailor emails based on that recipient's location and time of the year. For example, if the season is rainy, call that out, right? Checking the weather is a huge thing that we like to provide, as a kind of signature email marketing strategy. A lot of people call out holidays. A lot of people call out countries. Sometimes people call out political issues, which can be, if you think about calling out political issues, you get either great return or either horrible return, But basing it on the weather, like rainy or sunny, is a huge ROI for email marketing. I suggest doing that. That's a really good thing to include. Like I said, personalization is dead. Relevancy is king. So people are not just expecting to see their name or information already in emails anymore. It's no longer impressive, and it's expected. If you go too far, you can creep them out, right? And so we don't want to do that. People are more impressed these days by you providing relevant content, like I said, with the weather, and it increases users moving you to spam by being weird with personalization, right? So you don't want it to be spam. You don't want people unsubscribing quick. You want people unsubscribing over time. Sometimes people even report, with extra personalization. There's a really bad strategy that you can use where you're sending emails from a name that you identified in your CRM as a relative of theirs. That's weird. And you should not be doing that. But anyways, automation and segmentation is the next part of deeper personalization. Or, automation and segmentation are considered more advanced email marketing strategies. If you think of just normal email marketing, we're talking about, sending out extra emails or just doing more marketing via email. Automation allows you to send emails at the perfect time, which is kind of the main benefit of it. You can send perfect emails at the perfect time, and segmentation in turn ensures that the right message reaches the right audience. So if you think about it, when those two are together, it's a really powerful coupling because you can segment ahead of time into, preferences and use automation to capitalize on those preferences. They're not your preferences, but the automation, it doesn't matter. It'll just do it. So for example, for segmentation, if you have a bookstore and you segment your list into categories like customers, authors, vendors, and media, you can further segment them based on their preferred genres and notify them when a new thing comes out. Or even better, you can reach out based on those genres whenever you find something interesting. It helps you really connect on a personal level, especially if you're sending these emails from a person account instead of a company account. Automated campaigns, you then create these for those specific segments. If your customer prefers horror books, you might send them an automated campaign at night, right, about the new Stephen King book or horror fiction segment, including pre-order information and call to actions like that. In terms of mobile responsiveness, most of your users, 80% probably, will access your email on their phone or on their mobile device. So you want to use large, clickable photos, simple text, less lines, and make sure your emails are scrollable in a good way. And this gets really intense when you want to put interaction into your email, especially on, iPhones do weird stuff with zooms and everything that people know, but you want to make sure your email is good on phones. So just send a test it on your phone. But like I said, those best practices for keeping it responsive on mobile is making sure your photos are large and clickable, and your calls to action and your text and your paragraphs don't take up more space than they should. In terms of how do we continuously improve and go from beginner to intermediate to advanced email marketing, like I said, we're going to want to do this based on the data. We're going to want to make data-driven adjustments. So using the analytics that we get from these platforms like Klaviyo from HubSpot to refine these email marketing strategies. And we suggest at the end of the month, at the end of the 120 days, whatever segment or campaign performed the worst, cut it completely. Don't try to save it. Don't try to improve it. Cut the bottom 10% of your campaigns. If it's just 3 campaigns, the next month, don't do the one you already did. Do another one. Or if you really want to keep it, just do a 4th. So when I say data-driven adjustments, what data do I mean? We're talking about two main stats, right? The two most important statistics for email marketing are open rates and click-through rates. Open rates, to improve those, you typically want to look at subject lines and subheadings. Consider using emojis, maybe. Although I like using emojis in my stuff, but I was recently called out by a client that emojis seem more AI written. And so I was like, huh, that's weird because I'm writing them. But I stopped using emojis and sure enough, they were right. Right. So consider using more compelling things, more curiosity inducing subject lines and subheadings to increase your open rates in your email marketing. Click through rates to boost that up. You want to make sure your buttons and links are prominent and easy to click. Make sure your images are clickable, and make sure the content is just relevant, engaging, and you're going to pull that same curiosity inducing thing to get them to click out of the email. If you're facing high unsubscribe rates or being reported as spam, this is where a lot of people make the mistake of tailoring their content and then sending it to the same people. If people are quitting your content, if people are unsubscribing or reporting you as spam, you need to reassess how subscribers joined your list and the relevance of your content. You're clearly sending to the wrong person. And so that's why I say it's not a bad thing that people are unsubscribing. They're self-qualifying. You pay people to do that for your business already. And so if your customers are doing that for themselves, that is not a bad thing. When we talk, and that goes on to ethical email marketing. And so we like to, with additional legislation and additional consequences for unethical email marketing, we want to make sure we're following compliance and making sure we're following best practices. So that means if sending from like Klaviyo or sending from HubSpot, you want to make sure your DNS records are in place, your DKIM records, your SPF, that's DKIM, and SPF records. And if you don't know what those are and you want to verify those for your business and the Google searches aren't showing up, send me an email. I'll help you out. Don't worry about it. It can be confusing. Let's talk about three things. So let's talk about consent for email marketing. You only want to add people to your list who have given explicit permission. So this is where we talk about email flows. Email marketing is different, where you can email the people like you want them to have opted in originally. But when you're doing cold email outreach, we're not talking about cold email outreach. We're talking about email marketing and email flows. So I'll stop myself right there. I won't dive deep into cold email outreach. Maybe we'll save that for another podcast. Who knows? Respect unsubscribes. So do not resubscribe individuals. I promise these providers and these email inboxes are keeping records of who unsubscribes and how many times they unsubscribe from your address. And so then if you get flagged as spam, that does more harm than anything else ever would. So you want to also obviously make sure your content's not spammy to avoid being reported and unsubscribed in a spiteful way, in a hateful way. So just provide that relevant content to the right people and you'll be okay. Email marketing is hard to mess up because ideally they would have already consented into your emails. Anyways, that was a long section. So recapping on kind of the things we touched on is we want to move beyond basic personalization. We want to use AI and data analytics to create email content that truly resonates on a personal level with your clients, with your customers. We want to use automation and segmentation to send the right message to the right person at the right time. These tools are your best friends, right? When they're paired up, they're super powerful. We want to ensure our emails are mobile responsive. 80% of our users, maybe 90, will access our emails from their mobile devices. So the experience should be seamless. This looks like short text, clickable images, larger than normal buttons, larger than normal text. We want to engage the audience with interactive content using polls, discounts, compelling CTAs to drive interaction. There's really no better response to an email marketing campaign and email flow than if the user responds to your email. That is the goal. So, but that being said, we always want to follow ethical marketing practices, respect your subscribers, unsubscribes, comply with regulations, and ensure your DNS records are in place. The last thing we're going to touch on is A/B testing. I have a pretty simple philosophy when it comes to A/B testing. we're going to test like 4 things. We're going to either test subject lines. If you watch my landing page podcast, you would know it's the same A/B testing framework that performs really well time and time again. We test subject lines, the headings, the CTAs, and the send times. So a little bit more than the landing pages, still just a handful of things. And so our same philosophy is going to impact this as well, right? Where we're going to conduct one A/B test at a time. One time a week, we're going to change one element and measure the impact based on our KPIs. So once per week, if you get in that cadence, it's a really strong cadence to get into. You test your different subject line, your different CTA, your different send time, and whichever one gets a higher open rate, you continue with that. If that wasn't obvious. So when we analyze the results of these, we want to go on the data. We want to go on whatever it says, right? And I typically allow a 7%, give or take, around 50. If it's within 7, maybe sometimes 10, then chalk it up to a loss, right? As either or. And change something else. Go with whatever you like in that case, is what I recommend. The key metrics to track are open rates, click-through rates, and conversion rates. Open rates, indicating, how many recipients opened your email. Click-through rates measures how many recipients clicked on links within your email. Conversion rates tracks the percentage of recipients who completed the desired action. So ended up showing up to the webinar, ended up downloading the PDF, etc. Obviously, we want to monitor unsubscribe rates to make sure that our audience is effective. Most of the time, our audience will be customers already. And so in that case, you want to monitor subscribe rates. And I even recommend sometimes reaching out to these people one-on-one. You want to make sure you're following your ethical practices in that case. But I want to circle back to open rates and click-through rates. With email inboxes getting a little more popular, a little more powerful, a little more AI controlled, the open rates and click-through rates are going to be not as important. And I say that in a way that these email clients are opening emails for the users and then marking them as unread. Through the code, that's what happens. That's why the AI inboxes are able to show you what you want at the top, because it looks through it and it indicates what's best. And sometimes that triggers an open rate, when in reality, the user will never open your email. Sometimes the inboxes are checking the links in your email to make sure you're not spam. And so those are things to take into consideration. Also, I left it off the list, but like I said, the main goal is to get people to respond to your email. There's no better metric than that. We want to track that, although that can be pretty low. So I don't want you to get, stuck on that. Pretty simple section on that, but in kind of wrapping it up, what did we talk about for A/B testing? A/B testing allows you to experiment and find what resonates best with your audience. Test one element at a time for the most clear result tracking. We track metrics like open rates, click-through rates, conversion rates, and reply rates to understand your email campaign performance and make those data-driven improvements. And finally, we want to keep our emails simple, focused, and visually engaging. Make it have a clear, uncomplicated design and a strong call to action that is curiosity-driven to significantly increase your conversion rates in your conversion mechanism. That wraps up the email marketing podcast. Let's see, we touched on what are email flows. We touched on how to structure effective email flows. We talked about crafting compelling content for your email, how to test that content with A/B testing, some tools for creating email flows. We dove into some advanced email marketing strategies like personalization, automation, segmentation, and mobile responsiveness, and ethical email marketing. We talked about that. And yeah, so that wraps it up. Those are all the things really to be concerned with email marketing for scale. At scale, there's other things to take into consideration, but this is kind of a guide for if you haven't implemented email marketing and you're looking to implement it. These are the things you want to touch on. I hope it was helpful. Thank you for listening if you did. And the next podcast will be about SEO. stay tuned for that, I guess. But thank you guys. Until then, this has been Luke Flaherty, the founder of Wave Consulting. It was great talking to you. I'll talk to you later this week. Goodbye.